So you mentioned that you've taught basically all over the country from one tip to the other, and that you've had different experiences in different types of school contexts. One question here that we got sent through for the forum for one of our symposiums was about a lot's talked about when we go out trying to find jobs about finding the right school for you.
Yep.
And that school culture is very important. You've taught in a lot of different schools, from the most private school to alternative schooling, co-ed, single sex. What advice can you give to a young teacher about how that actually happens? Because I honestly don't know what the perfect culture is for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, you probably have to jump into the frying pan to see whether it's the right fit, and it's just through trial and error. But you'll soon find out or know whether it's the right fit for you for a school. And for a young teacher who hasn't got much experience to base their feelings on, sometimes when you're struggling, you think sometimes, gee, this is all about myself, that somehow I'm inadequate and perhaps I shouldn't be a teacher, maybe I should do something else. That might account for such the big dropout rate from brand new teachers staying teachers. So my advice to teachers would be to, based on my own experience, to move about a bit and don't stagnate in a school. Schools are dynamic places and they do change within themselves. You found that out yourself when you went to the same school and did a practicum two different times at the same school. Yeah, so sometimes it's a matter of just hanging in there and schools change and you evolve with the changes. But I think you find out pretty quickly whether the school's the right fit for you. And I had that experience where I've been in a couple of schools where I've really questioned myself about whether teaching is actually something I should persevere with. And then I went to another school and things gelled and I got promotions and became a head of a department. But another school, they sort of made you feel like you couldn't teach out of a wet paper bag. So I went from sort of chocolate to boiled lollies back to chocolate again. So you do have this sort of peaks and troughs. It's like life, isn't it? It's not all smooth sailing. So my advice to prac teachers is try to get your foot in the door somewhere. Obviously, if there's a school where you think you mightn't be the right fit and mightn't be the right place to actually apply to go to, so don't go for anything. So for example, if you're not particularly religious and there's a school that's a Pentecostalist school that has daily liturgy and chapel and things like that, and that mightn't be the right fit. So look at where you think you might be a good fit, but I wouldn't just bar yourself from trying different schools, and you never know until you get there.
When you were, it was teachers college would have been for you, wouldn't it?
I did a lot of people in my era, either they went to teachers colleges, which was probably the better way of going about if you want to become a teacher, they studied basically education units, or my pathway where I did an ordinary degree, which I did a Bachelor of Arts, where I did history and geography basically as two majors, and then did a diploma of education after I did my honours year in history.
Okay, so when you were doing your DipEd, was that right, DipEd?
Yeah, it's called diploma of education after the honours, yeah.
After your honours year, when you were going out, did what you thought you wanted from a school was actually different to reality once you got there? Did your wants change over time?
Yeah, I had a bit of a funny start because I did a practical at a high school when I was doing my diploma of education. It was very similar to the high school that I went to school at, and I just gelled. I loved it. I got a really good review and I really enjoyed the kids, and I thought that's where I wanted to be. But unfortunately, when I was coming out of university, teaching jobs in South Australia were at a minimum, so I got into the private system, and the first school I went to was based on ASNL Summerhill, and it was an alternative school. And that wasn't quite the right fit for me. So then I went to Geelong College, which was a private co-ed school, Presbyterian school. And it was a school, Pats, that was quite different to what I'd ever experienced, being quite a upmarket private school. But I really enjoyed it, and ever since then I've been in private schools. But I've been in some private schools where I felt it's a bit too old school tie-ish, and I was only too happy to leave them. But I've been at Brisbane Boys College now this is my going on to my 13th year, and I've enjoyed it. It's got sometimes things that I don't totally always agree with, but But I found my niche and I enjoy it, yeah.
So you would give the advice to chop and change and see an experiment, jump around?
Yeah, there are some people in the private system sort of high-five each other when they've been in one place for about 30, 40 years. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I learned a lot from going from state to state and from different systems. You get thrown into your own resources and you find out different things about yourself and learn different things from different schools. So I think it's probably wise when you're young to maybe give yourself several years to 5 years in one place and then maybe go somewhere else to progress.
I think from what I've seen personally, the old message of no, you have that job and you stay there for a minimum of 10 years and you dare not change, I think that's changing a lot, and that the modern thing for young teachers, it's more acceptable to change around, and that's almost saying that you have the confidence within yourself to address that wasn't the right school for you, and that kind of
if I was doing it all over again, I'd probably even think about teaching overseas, going on exchange or going to the countries where they've got a reputation of doing well. So I think a stint in Singapore in one of those international schools would be fascinating. If you could go to Europe or North America or the UK, I think that would be a great experience for teachers.